Hello Year 10 and welcome to today's lesson on Blood Brothers. Your lesson outcomes. What? To explore a section of Blood Brothers from Act 1. Why? To gain knowledge and understanding of how to answer exam questions. Section B. For your written PPE exam, you will be answering 3 questions from Section B on Blood Brothers. There will be a 4-mark, an 8-mark and a 12-mark question. Here is an example of a 4-mark question. This is a question that will be on design. In your answer, you will need to describe your design ideas for a character's costume, set or lighting design. Today we will be exploring an example of costume. In your answer, you will need to refer to items of clothing, the fit, the material, the length and the condition. And here is the example extract that you will be exploring today. You can find this example in the file section on Show My Homework. Read through it carefully, and if you like, you can print this out and make notes as you're planning out your answers. Here is a 4-mark example question. You are designing a costume for Mrs. Lyons in this extract. Describe what items of clothing you would choose that shows her status. Reminder, this is a 4-mark answer. And here is an example. If I was designing a costume for Mrs. Lyons in this extract, I would have Mrs. Lyons wear a knee-length fitted purple pencil skirt, a white silk blouse that would be tucked in and have gold buttons, a silk floral scarf and a peach shiny stilettos to show that she is physically taller than Mrs. Johnston and therefore has a higher status. We're now going to look at how and where the marks are. So, as you can see, indicated in red are the marks. The first mark, knee-length fitted purple pencil skirt. Second mark, a white silk blouse that will be tucked in and have gold buttons. Third mark, silk floral scarf. And fourth mark, peach shiny stilettos. These are given marks because they are items of clothing which have some detail describing them. And now you're going to have a go at answering your own 4-mark question. You are designing a costume for Mrs. Johnston in this extract. Describe what items of clothing you would choose that show her job. This is 4 marks. Remember, you are mentioning the items of clothing and you are describing each one. You must mention 4 different items of clothing. Pause the video here to have a go at answering this question. Here is an 8-mark example question. You are performing the role of Mrs. Johnston. Describe how you would use your vocal and physical skills to perform the line below and explain the effect you want to create. It's great, thank you. It's such a lovely house, it's a pleasure to clean it. Top tips when answering an 8-mark question. Quote parts of the line of dialogue when given your answer to provide evidence. State your ideas for vocal skills. State your ideas for physical skills. Give explanations, i.e., what do these vocal and physical skills show the audience? A reminder of the vocal skills that you could talk about: pitch, pace, pause, tone, accent and emphasis. And a reminder of the physical skills: gesture, gait, facial expressions, posture and movement. Here is an example 8-mark answer. To deliver this line, it's great, thank you. It's such a lovely house. It's a pleasure to clean it. I would begin by pausing my work, whereby I would be polishing the table and look up to Mrs. Lyons. I would say the word great with enthusiasm, as I wanted to show Mrs. Lyons that I was enjoying the job and not to disappoint her. I would be looking around with wide eyes and gesturing my arms out with the duster in hand when saying, "Such a lovely house," to illustrate how big I thought the house was. I would say the word lovely with an upbeat tone to show how impressed I was. And here is where the marks are. To deliver this line It's great, thank you. It's such a lovely house, it's a pleasure to clean it. I would begin by pausing my work, whereby I would be polishing the table. This is a point because I've explained what action I will be doing. And look up at Mrs. Lyons, again another physical skill. I would say the word great with enthusiasm. Again, I would get a point because I've explained how I would say the line, as I wanted to show Mrs. Lyons that I was enjoying the job and not to disappoint her. Here is another point because you've explained your reasons for the previous vocal and physical skill suggestions. The fifth point is when I have explained how I would be looking around using gestures with my hands and holding a duster. The sixth point is when I've explained that I would emphasize the words lovely house. The seventh point is when I explain that I would say lovely in an upbeat tone, and the eighth point is the explanation of this type of tone. And here is the question that you will answer. You are performing the role of Mrs. Lyons. Describe how you would use your vocal and physical skills to perform the line below, and explain the effect you want to create. Actually, Mrs. J, we bought such a large house for the children. We thought children would come along. Remember that this question is worth 8 marks. Pause the video here to answer this question. We are now going to explore a 12-mark example question. You are performing the role of Mrs. Johnston. Explain how you would use your acting skills as well as use of space to show the relationships between the two characters in the following extract. It's a pretty big house, isn't it? It's a pity it's so big. I'm finding it rather large at present. Oh yeah, with Mr. Lyons being away that and that. When does he come back, Mrs. Lyons? Oh, it seems such a long time. The company sent him out there for 9 months. So, what's that? He'll be back in about 5 months. Ah, and you'll be glad when he's back home to you. The house won't feel so empty then, will it? Mrs. Lyons begins to unwrap her parcel. 12-mark top tips. Quote parts of the extract when giving your answer to provide evidence. State your ideas for vocal skills. State your ideas for physical skills. Give explanations, i.e., what do these vocal and physical skills show the audience? And explain how the performers use space, give eye contact and physical contact. And on the screen you can see a list of the vocal and physical skills you could use. And here is the 12-mark example answer. To show the relationship between the two characters as Mrs. Johnson. When Mrs. Lyons speaks her first line, it's a pretty house, isn't it? It's a pity it's so big. I would move closer to her to show that I wanted her to feel that I was interested in what she was saying. Furthermore, I would be angled towards her and giving her eye contact to further demonstrate that I was listening to her and ultimately wanting to build a positive relationship. When I deliver the line, oh yeah, with Mr. Lyons being away on that, when does he come back, Mrs. Lyons? I would look down at the table and polish it. This would show the audience that I was a bit apprehensive about speaking about Mr. Lyons, as I wasn't sure if this was going over the employer-employee relationship. I would also speak with a quieter volume to show that Mrs. Lyons was the dominant person in the relationship. When Mrs. Lyons says the line, oh, it seems such a long time, the company sent him out there for 9 months. So what's that? He'll be back in about 5 months' time. I would move closer to Mrs. Lyons, looking directly at her and smiling to show that I felt sympathy for her in this situation. I would also be nodding my head to show that I was listening carefully and wanted to create a supportive relationship. When delivering the line, and you'll be glad when he's back, won't you? The house won't feel so empty then, will it? I would speak in a sympathetic tone, showing that I was a friendly and approachable person. I would emphasize the word empty to show that I sympathized with her and can see that she felt that as the house was empty, she was a little lonely. When saying the words will it, I would raise my voice up at the end to show that I was asking Mrs. Lyons a question which required an answer, showing the audience that I was happy to continue speaking with Mrs. Lyons, further strengthening the relationship. When Mrs. Lyons begins to wrap the present, I would be carrying out my dusting with my back towards her to show that I wasn't being nosy and that I respected our relationship as worker and employer. Okay, that might have seemed like a very long answer, but it's actually quite simple. What you need to do is go through the extract, pick out the lines of dialogue from the beginning to the end of the shaded part, and quote these lines of dialogue, explaining your vocal and physical skills, and then saying why. In this question, you can only get the marks once you've said your ideas for vocal and physical, and then your explanation. If you've just put your ideas for vocal and physical, you will not get any points. It has to be a fully justified point. And here is your 12-mark question. You're performing the role of Mrs. Johnston. Explain how you would use your acting skills as well as the use of space to create tension in the following extract. Oh, but look, it's all right, Mrs. Lyons. I'll still be able to do my work. Having babies is like clockwork to me. It's be back on my feet and working in the next day, you know. If I have this on the weekend, I wouldn't even need to take one day off. I love this job, you know. We can just manage to get by. She is stopped by Mrs. Lyons putting the contents of the package, a pair of shoes, onto the table. Jesus Christ, Mrs. Lyons, what are you trying to do? My God, what's wrong? The shoes. Pardon? Have a go at answering this question. Pause the video, and if you need any help for the 12-mark, 8-mark or 4-mark, please email Mrs. Harrell. Once you've completed all your work, upload to show my homework. Bye-bye.